how are you all this fine day? I hope that if you're here, you subscribe to this channel if you're not already, and you check out everything that's down below. Besides the like button, there's also a description box full of goodies that I highly recommend and hopefully are helpful, because we're talking about, ironically enough, communication. Because let me tell you, being autistic, being neurodiverse, communication is hard. It just often feels not natural. And for me, it's much easier, like multitudes easier, to be able to write something out and feel like I'm fully expressing what I'm thinking, and there's less kind of feeling like there's something lost in translation. Where when it comes to being verbal, it's a whole other story, I feel like, which is, again, ironic, because in this case, when I'm basically what feels like talking to myself, it's different than when, especially even if it's one-on-one or in a group setting or what have you, if there's some sort of like two-way action going on that you need to express yourself and vocalize it, while at the same time you're trying to like multitask with hearing what they say, understanding what they say, also somehow cueing into what they don't say and nonverbal language, body language. And it's just kind of a recipe for disaster, or just not great things in general. Because I don't think a lot of neurotypical people realize everything that goes into communication and expressing yourself, and in turn how that plays out in relationships, because there's so much that can and often goes unsaid, and then it's just kind of a shot in the dark. You're just completely guessing, and it takes a lot of energy and a lot of work. And again, I think a lot of that just goes unnoticed, because neurotypical people they automatically kind of have that translator in their head where they can read things going on, they understand, they think, it comes out, and it comes out basically how you're thinking of it. And in my experience being autistic, it feels like rubbing your tummy, patting your head, hopping on one foot, and then go jump through a hoop as well that's on fire. And that's what it can feel like. And I can even take it as far as, while I feel like I express myself well when I'm writing, when it comes to a relationship and it's on, and you're messaging or you're texting, and cool, it's written out, that's amazing. But even then, it takes energy to read what someone says to you and then reply back, and do so in a timely manner. If you know me at all, I am so bad at replying to a message within like a reasonable span of time, in a way that it feels like a back and forth communication, as if you were in person. Because my preference, if I at least remember to, because memory. That's a whole other thing. I like to take my time, and unless I'm like in the zone, I'm really feeling it, I have that energy to really like go back and forth, I otherwise just have to take the time, let things digest, and I want to use my words in a thoughtful way. And that's just hard when we live in a world that is not too comfortable with silence and taking pauses when you're in a conversation and you're on the spot and you have to say something to reply back, but it's just really difficult. So, as with anything, the first step is just acknowledging the fact that when it comes to any form of communication, but especially when it's verbal, autistic, neurodiverse people are just not gonna thrive having to understand and hopefully be understood by others when it's only coming verbally. I think even if something is verbal, if there's anything that can be said and done through writing, holy cow, that is so much easier. And I can think of so many different in-person conversations or meetings, Zoom meetings, that I think in my head, wow, this could be done so much faster, so much more efficiently if it was just in an email or something. But I realize that the world doesn't operate that way for the most part, which is a shame. I wish and there should be more opportunities to make communication accessible in general. If that means using technology or a program to be verbal, or just to automatically have things in writing, or the first go-to of talking to someone is through writing, then that should be a very valid, understandable option for someone. Rather than, I think oftentimes people might not be taken seriously, or it's not preferred by the majority to have something written or to have a meeting that's email or whatever, then you're just kind of left to fend for yourself, and ultimately that is likely not sustainable for you. And I think depending on what is most comfortable for you in expressing yourself, then just make that very clear, very known. And as with any communication, it's a two-way street. So as much as we express in what feels most natural for us, what actually allows us to understand others, as well as feel like we're fully expressing ourselves, you can only do so much until it's in someone else's hands to be able to honor you or just requiring you to adapt even more, which, you know, it's hard, but I hope that in the relationships that you do have, that you have options and opportunities to be heard in different ways and formats that work for you and also work for others. And sometimes it means compromise and kind of rolling with the punches, if you will. So, long story short, communication, it's difficult, it's just a requirement, and best case scenario is that you're in an environment and around people that understand who you are and you understand what works best for you. And if you don't, then depending on the circumstances, seek out what you can and just do your best. That's all we can ask for. So, thank you for being here, and leave any comments below on how you feel about communication and relationships, all of that jazz. And with that, subscribe, like this video. I will see you all next time.